Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, as it stands, the alleged black hole in the account stands at £1.5 billion. That's if you believe the SNP. And given how often they lie, there's no reason to believe the SNP. Personally, I think it's much higher, certainly above 2 billion, possibly even 2.5 billion. And given that, it will come as no surprise that one of the Conservatives, one of the Scottish Tories, has pointed out where some of the money is likely to have gone. And he's shown where all this money, in fact, has been squandered. He's done a sort of back of the envelope calculation and has showed that, in fact, in the last 5 years, £2.7 billion of public money has been squandered, wasted, thrown away, and basically spent in a corrupt or inept manner. That money would more than repay the black hole in the accounts. It would mean there'd be no cut of services and no forthcoming tax rises. But then this is the SNP. Wasting money and stealing it is second nature. But let's have a look at this, see with the numbers, and see what he is saying. Here goes. Now, the stories of shadiness, ineptness, corruption, thievery, and whatever should come as no surprise to anyone, particularly not the regular viewers of the channel. And of those regular viewers, 65% of you are yet to actually subscribe. So now would be an excellent time, and let's see if we can get to 9,000 before Christmas. But the SNP will squander £2.7 billion in just 5 years, and hard-working Scots will have to foot the bill. It's not a surprise, though. None of us are surprised at this, because they are just awful. It's what happens when you have a party of morons, of crooks, of thieves, of the corrupt, of the inept, of the stupid, all led by a man who actually just is a hate-filled bag of racist crap, because that is Ali Baba, a man who hates white people, but also a man who's quite incapable of doing his job. He's failed at every role he's had, and now he's failing at First Minister. The only joyous part of this is there's an election next year, and the SNP will be handed their arse on a plate, at least as far as Westminster is concerned. And that should reduce their income substantially, and hopefully mean that they go into receivership, as it were, basically go bankrupt. You can't, an organisation, a political party can't actually go bankrupt, but it can go into administration. Anyway, the Scottish Tories pointed out the large amount of public wasted money that the Scottish Government have spent on the likes of failed court cases, botched censuses, ferries, etc. And, of course, it isn't going to stop there, and they keep going. And, of course, he's still got the decision to make. By him making the decision, obviously, the Greens will make the decision for him, of whether to take the gender bill to the Supreme Court and waste another couple of £1 million. It's very likely he will, because old Kendall hasn't got the balls to say no to the Greens. Anyway, the SNP government have been accused of squandering £2.7 billion of public cash in just 5 years, with hard-working Scots set to foot the bill on this waste. The allegations came as the Finance Secretary, Shona Robertson, is set to present her first and hopefully last budget tomorrow. Middle-class families are set for a nightmare before Christmas. I like that. As income tax for those earning over £75,000 may be hiked up to combat a £1.5 billion black hole in public finances. A black hole created purely by the SNP, despite them polishing off the old "let's blame it on Westminster" excuse, which won't wash. Westminster's given the biggest ever funding this year. It's not Westminster that's taking people to court. It's not Westminster that's wasting money on stupid schemes. It's not Westminster handing over millions of pounds in foreign aid. It's not Westminster spending millions a month on spin doctors, and so on and so on. So blaming it on Westminster is quite clearly a load of old horseshit. Anyway, this comes just a year since the punitive tax was increased the first time back in April, and now they'll raid pockets again and again and again, until eventually no one in Scotland will bother working because it just won't be worth it. The Scottish Tories have claimed that this is an issue of the nationalists' own making, which of course is true. and urged them not to punish Scots for their own financial misdeeds and incompetence. This includes wasting thousands of taxpayer cash on pushing for independence and the gross mismanagement of key projects. Millions a year, millions upon millions a year spent on independence, which A, will never happen because the vast majority of Scots don't want it, and secondly, is outside of their competence anyway. They shouldn't be spending a brass farthing on it. And it's up to Westminster to clamp down on this and say, right, from the 1st of January, done. Any money spent on independence must come from party funds. If it comes from government funds, it will be a crime and you will go to jail. And then all of a sudden, when Jamie Hebburn is sitting there going, I'd like independence from my cell, he may think twice before wanking away millions just to give himself this big circle jerk of independence joy that they all have, even though they know full well it will never happen. Anyway, the party have put together a dossier of examples of money which has been thrown away by the SNP over this parliamentary term, including the ferry fiasco, delayed capital projects and numerous failed court cases. Do you know over 100 million has been spent on the A9? Not on the bits they've done, but on the bits they haven't even started yet. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Well, no, it really isn't. It really isn't unbelievable. This is the SNP. It pointed out that Miss Robertson should be blaming herself rather than the UK government for the black hole. Well, yes, it's definitely her black hole that is the problem. She's already outlined that she will have to make savage spending cuts. Yes, but only in certain areas. She's already said 30 billion coming off mental health, but 35 million being guaranteed for independence, for the pretendy embassies. Anyway, she has to find money to find Humza Yousaf's conference promises, such as the council tax freeze. What a joke. And extra cash for the NHS. Also, what a joke. But she's been accused of gross incompetence over public spending. She'd be accused of gross incompetence over every single thing she's ever done. She's just not bright. She really isn't. And when she's asked serious questions, you know, they get them in the studio and they ask them questions, and you can see the light go from her eyes, and then she'll just answer a completely different question because she can't answer the question put to her, because either she doesn't know, which is very often the case, or if she does know, she knows that people won't like the answer. So it's a completely different question that she answers and tries to deflect. And when the moment you know they deflect is because you know they either don't know or the answer is hideously bad. I'm trying to think of his name. He used to do Weekend World on ITV back in the 80s. Brian Waldron. He had a mind like a forensic trap. It was mind like a steel trap. Sorry, very forensically minded. He'd sit there and he'd ask a question, and then he'd just give them a very easy question, and an easy question, an easy question. Then he'd throw something in that they'd answer without thinking, but then he'd move away from it. But then he'd come back to it, and they'd think, "Oh, we got away with that," and then he'd come back to it, and that's when they knew they'd fallen into the trap. And it was just wonderful to watch. Waldron was brilliant. You haven't got the likes of Waldron anymore. Nobody will pin these people down because they're all trying to be nice and friendly and not being seen as being an attack dog. Screw that. Robin Day, Brian Waldron, get them out, the attack dogs. Anyway, it was pointed out that millions of taxpayers' cash was wasted on over-budget infrastructure and SNP pet projects, including the replacement for HMP Barlinnie, HMP Glasgow, which has been spiralled from 100 million to 400 million and is not complete yet. This could end up costing £750 million just to lock up a few lags. Honestly, you couldn't. I'm gonna say you couldn't make it up, but it's just unbelievably bad. Then there's the two ferries. Now, the thing about the ferries is they'll sail them, they'll release them, they'll float out the river, turn left, straight into the scrapyard. No, not going anywhere else, are they? The SNP's obsession with independence, causing grievance with the UK government, and addition to secrecy, is also damaging the public purse. The Grand Mufti, I was going to call him now, we've changed it, it's Ali Baba, but yeah, Grand Mufti works. And the SNP's obsession with independence, causing grievance with the UK, and addiction to secrecy, is also damaging the public purse. Ali Baba appointed a Minister for Independence on a £97,000 a year salary, plus expenses are coming around about £120,000. Plus he's got a department with all those staff. It's millions a year. He's funded 9 nice shiny brochures, prospectuses they call them, at more than £100,000. Nobody knows why, because it's pointless. And by the time, if ever they did get independence, everything on there will be out of date. because the world moves on. So it's sheer waste. They need to be billed to the party for that. It's also lost various court cases. 8 so far. 8 court cases. The hateful 8, if you like. Not won a single court case. It's going to try and hold a second independence referendum. It's cost $250,000 so far. And the gender reform, 230,000, which they may take to the Supreme Court. It will end up being 2 million. And it's just money everywhere. Money, money, money everywhere. And instead of spending it where they need to spend it, on people, they're spending it on absolute, sheer, unadulterated shite. There's nothing else to do. But then when you get a man as absolutely rancid as him leading a party full of what can only be described as morons and retards, and that's not the ones, they're only the ones that aren't actively thieving, what the hell do you expect? Scotland deserves better. I'm coming up. So there you go. No, Robertson. No, it isn't Westminster's fault. It's your fault. It's the SNP's fault. It's all you. You lot have spent this money on absolute horse shit, and now you're sitting there moaning, oh, it's all Westminster's fault that we're stupid. It's Westminster's fault that we're crooked. It's Westminster's fault that we've been allowed to get away with destroying everything we've ever touched. No, if you truly want to know whose fault it is, it's Sturgeon's. Sturgeon did it for most of it, and then Sturgeon backed him. Sturgeon backed Alibaba, and Alibaba is the second most stupid person in the whole of Holyrood. Second only, of course, to Shona Robertson. I'll stop there. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and I will speak to you later. Bye.